Telling my birth story, I have 3 of them. I would say all positive. Yeah, overall positive. Outside of this one, this was positive. My first experience, my first birth. Just the beginning was a bit of a hit. This video is dedicated to my eldest son. So he was born well over 10 years ago, and I was 24 at the time. So I was pregnant and I gave birth at 24. Our birthdays are days apart. I'm going to detail as much as I can remember, but this birth story is well over 10 years ago. So yeah, I'm just going off the cuff. I don't have any notes or anything like that, and my memory has gotten a lot worse over the years, but still nice to have this little memory, and I do remember quite a lot of it in some detail. So let's do it. Pregnant at 20. I know I had my son at 24. So I was pregnant at 24, yeah, and I had him at 24, which I look back now and I just think that was so young. Overall, it was a healthy pregnancy. I was very, 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 very lucky. I'm not going to say the dates just because I'm still trying to keep his privacy. I used to post videos with him online, but now I'm not doing that. If you see my other videos, you'll understand. When my due date was, I still remember that number holds significant to me. And he was exactly 5 days over. So just a bit of backstory about the pregnancy. I worked up until right at the end of my pregnancy. That was out of having to. I needed the money, not for wanting to. But again, I was healthy and very blessed in my pregnancy. There were no complications there. So yeah, just to go straight into it. I had my due date and I went over by 5 days. So he was born on the 5th day, on a Friday. And I had had no Braxton Hicks or nothing to tell me ever, like in my first pregnancy, to indicate, oh, it could be happening now or anything like that, outside of the Wednesday. So he was born on the Friday. On the Wednesday, I was driving, and I was across the other side of London, like literally the other side of London, I had something to do. And as I was driving, I remember what I still believe now are contractions. And I really thought, oh, it's happening now, like everything's starting now. I'd had nothing else to compare it to, and I don't remember ever having Braxton Hicks or anything in this pregnancy. Not that I really would have known what that was anyway. Like I wouldn't have known the term, I don't think, Braxton Hicks or anything like that, but I had had nothing in the way of thinking like, oh, this baby's gonna, ready to come now. Outside of on that Wednesday. So I was excited, but I was also panicked because I was across the other side of London, literally, and I was driving. And I wasn't with anyone that could drive or anything like that. So I believe I just made my way back. I drove, I'm trying to remember now. I drove all the way back. I don't know if I drove myself to the hospital. I don't remember driving myself to the hospital. No, I didn't. I came back and I was with my sister. I don't remember the ins and outs, but I know I came back and I ended up, imagine this, getting a bus all the way to Ealing Hospital. Once I dropped my car back. I don't know why I got a bus. Me and my sister. I think my sister was with me or she met me there. That is so fuzzy, I don't remember, and I'm just now thinking about it. But either way, I went on a bus, public transport, to the hospital. I don't remember how long the wait was or anything like that, but I know when the lady checked me, there was 2 of them. There was both of them were quite older ladies, but I think one of them was quite a bit older. And they were friendly, but she was quite snappy with me. And because I was in pain, and I believe the contractions were coming like minutes apart, no more than 5 minutes, I believe. And they would be timed, and we were like, we're getting one now, and I knew that one was coming. So they were regular. We knew that when to expect it. So when I went in, I believe it was still quite regular when I went in. But the lady, she was so dismissive with me, and she said, more or less verbatim, like, if you think this is pain now, wait till you're in actual labor or something like that. That part of the story is very important. So when they checked me, she said I was 1 centimeter, and she explained that I could have been 1 centimeter from how many years ago? You know what they say, like from weeks before, months before. So they made me feel like what I was experiencing was, like the pain I was experiencing was nothing. Again, note this is important. She was literally in me, sorry to be so graphic, and while she was there, she was telling me, oh, would you like me to give you a sweep? At this point, I would have been 3 days over. I was 3 days overdue on that Wednesday. And I was saying no, like, because I had known that it was going to be painful. And she was, I don't remember what she said, but there was a bit of peer pressure there, which they could never do to me today. But there was a bit of peer pressure there. There was 2 of them, and they weren't not rude. They weren't rude, but they were just a bit of force. Like, I don't remember at all what they said, but I think I remember feeling like, well, they're saying that if I want the baby to come soon, like, I'm already over, I'm gonna have to have the sweep anyway. Almost that feeling. Again, I don't remember at all what they said to me, but I know they were not just saying, okay, we're not gonna give you the sweep. They were trying to encourage me to have the sweep. And the woman was already there. She said, I'm already here, So I said, okay, do it. It was painful. Painful, is that the right word? It was really uncomfortable. Now I've given birth 3 times, naturally. I can say it was very uncomfortable. There was some pain there. I would never do the sweep again if I had a choice, like, ever. As a last resort, I would do it, like, to start labor off naturally. So she gave me the sweep. I was feeling cramps all on my way back home with my sister. And, oh, I'm telling the story wrong. I'm telling the story wrong. I didn't go home. She'd done the check and the sweep, but for whatever reason, I actually don't remember why, but I ended up staying in hospital. So I had gone to hospital on Wednesday night. Gosh, this is jumbled. I'm sorry. This is how old the story is. I don't remember it exactly. I don't. But I know that they gave me a sweep by, not by force, but by encouraging me. And I had gone to the hospital on Wednesday in the evening. So I don't remember why, but I did end up staying overnight in hospital. The whole of Thursday went. I was literally laying in bed. I wasn't moving around, walking. I wasn't attached to anything. I don't remember if they put the monitor on me at times, but for whatever reason, I just laid in the bed. Maybe because I wasn't the monitor. I really don't remember. I did not feel one contraction or not one thing that I had felt the day before on the Wednesday. I know on the Thursday, nobody checked me. I believe more or less the whole day. They were saying they're busy and da-da-da-da-da. I didn't feel nothing. Again, in the way of contractions or anything like that. So I was like, okay, this stops. Maybe it really wasn't anything. I discharged myself. They were saying they're going to check me. They didn't. This is Ealing Hospital, which they now apparently no longer deliver babies there. So shock, horror. But so no one checked me the whole time. I got discharged without being checked. I wanted to be discharged. I was sitting in the hospital bed all day, the whole day. I believe I left hospital Thursday night. It was dark when I left, but at the same time, we were in autumn. But I know I left hospital when it was dark, so it was well after 4 o'clock. I'm just playing card games and sitting there with my sister talking. And yeah, and I felt absolutely nothing all day. We left, and I remember I was going back to her house. I was staying with her, and she was my birthing partner. And she had a hill that we had to walk up. So again, we bussed it back. And there's a hill that I walked up, and I could not walk up the hill. I couldn't walk up the hill. The contractions had started to come back, and I don't think they were ever any more intense. I felt like it was exactly the same, what I was feeling and experiencing on the Wednesday. But yeah, all of a sudden, I don't remember feeling anything on the bus. It was when I was walking up the hill, and maybe because I was bedbound, I bedbound myself, I believe, that whole day, that bit of movement just triggered things, I believe. Anyway, I tried to walk up the hill, but I had to keep stopping. So every time I was getting a contraction, I couldn't walk up the hill. I had to stop. You know what it's like, as soon as you get a contraction, everything stops. Everyone needs to be on mute. And so I was walking, and then it was obviously so cold, and we were just trying to get home. And I finally made it up the hill. So we made it back to hers. I think I was contracting, if I remember rightly, all night. My sister went to work on that Friday because I was telling her, and I was meant to go to uni that Friday. I was at uni. I was at the beginning of my second year of uni. And I didn't defer. So they knew I was expecting, obviously, and that baby was going to be coming soon. So they were ready for me not to be in around that time. But I had planned to just go to uni like a normal day. But I was contracting, I believe I was contracting all night. But I know from Friday, early hours of the morning, the pain continued. I believe I did get some sleep on the Thursday, so it must have subsided a bit. Again, I don't really remember, but I vividly remember the early hours of the morning on Friday, the day he was born, being in pain. I was contracting, and I was by myself. I just said to my sister, yeah, go to work. I don't remember saying that, but I remember that we probably would have had that conversation. Like, she would have stayed otherwise. I was contracting the whole day, like from early hours of the morning. I remember I went into the shower thinking, no, that I'm going to feel better. I had a hot shower. I was at hers. Again, I remember this quite vividly. And I think I even called in uni or whatever the procedure was to call off, obviously. I didn't go in. And went to the shower. It didn't help. Just pain. The whole day, the whole afternoon, I was on my hands and knees, just contracting, moving myself side to side. I believe I was in the same pain that I was on a Wednesday. I couldn't tell the difference at that time. To this day, thinking about it, I feel like it was the same pain. Just the frequency obviously just got closer and closer. Though on the Wednesday, I feel like they were pretty close. So I was in pain all day on Friday. I don't remember how my sister ended up coming back home, if she finished the day at work or if she came home earlier. But I know that we got a cab this time to Ealing Hospital. And we called a cab. I think I got to the hospital at 8 p.m. So I labored the whole time by myself. I didn't know that I was laboring. Again, I just thought I wanted to put off going in as long as possible because I just thought it's the same pain. They are going to send me home and I don't want to have to deal with that again. And feeling weird and awkward and uncomfortable. I went in, it was 8 o'clock because I believe that's when they were changing people, like shifts. The night team was coming on. And I was in so much pain. The cab driver alone, like on the way, the cab journey was awful. It was awful. I remember like holding up onto the car and I couldn't put my bum down, like, and we were driving, I felt like 45 minutes, like it was a drive. Because of all the traffic and stuff like that. Got to the hospital. I was in so much pain, but I am not a screamer. I was holding it in internally. So this is why I don't think they took me seriously. They had never seen me before. I don't remember any of them. So it's not like they're like, oh, this lady came in on Wednesday. You know, it's completely new people. But my sister was trying to advocate for me. She was saying she was getting annoyed. And she was telling them, like, she's in a lot of pain. She's been like this all day. I don't know exactly what she said, but she went back like a couple of times. They eventually saw me when the lady put me on the bed. She checked me. I think I was in triage at this point. She checked me, and I remember I was thinking it's going to be painful. Everything was numb down there. I could not feel this woman. And I just thinking it was going to be like the last time when they checked me, and then they gave me the sweep, that kind of sensation, that kind of pain. Again, it was so numb. Couldn't feel nothing down there. And even internally, like, she didn't even get high because she took her hand out. She said, I'm fully dilated. So I went in fully dilated. And as she took her hand out, my waters broke. And she said baby had passed meconium. So he had pooed inside me. In that moment, I don't remember exactly how I felt, but I was feeling awful because the same sensation I was having, I never had the sensation to push like I did with my other two, like I know now. I never had that, which will become clear as I go into explaining the delivery. I can't talk. But I was feeling guilty because that same feeling that I had all day from the early hours of the morning, including like going in the shower, apparently that's so dangerous. And that feeling of needing to poo, I remember having that poo feeling. That was the only time I had that poo feeling, the whole experience of me laboring, giving birth. And I didn't know that. I didn't know what that was. I don't remember feeling the ring of fire, but I'm sure I would have had to have felt that at some point in the early hours of Friday. But I believe to this day, and even after that, immediately after that time, I remember thinking he was ready to go, like early hours of the morning. I really think that. So she said I was fully dilated and we needed to move room so that we could get this baby out, basically. So when they checked me, I believe it was 10 something, because I remember looking up at the time. Yeah. So I did move rooms. I put music on. My sister was there, and I remember having a little dance. I don't know how I did that, but I had a little dance, and because I would always say, like, I'm gonna sneeze and this baby's gonna come out. Ironically enough, like going in fully dilated and pushing, and him being born in half an hour, you know. I guess I manifested that without even knowing what manifestation was. That this baby, I'm gonna sneeze and it's gonna come out. I don't know why, I'd always just say that throughout my whole pregnancy, and I would say I wasn't scared, and I don't know why, I never felt scared to give birth. But as soon as she said, we need to get you to like labor and delivery, I felt like I didn't scream, I was never making that much noise, but I feel like I definitely panicked, and all of a sudden, you would never have thought that I just labored for how many hours by myself, and then I'm having this freak out moment. I said no, because I wasn't expecting her to say that. I literally thought she was going to tell me that I am experiencing the same thing that I experienced the other day, and she's going to tell me that I'm 1 centimeter. I was dreading that the whole time in my head. Can you imagine the whole day thinking that, going in thinking they're going to check me and I'm feeling the same, they're going to tell, until she said the words, you are fully dilated, we need to get you to labor and delivery now, and baby past meconium. Yeah, it didn't ring true. So I was so surprised. I think that's why I reacted like that. I said no, like I was excited, I was ready to get this baby out, but it was like, whoa, like I wasn't ready for that. I was not ready for that. I truly thought she was going to tell me that I'm still like 1 centimeter. I really thought she was going to say that. Again, the pain that I was experiencing, I felt like it was exactly the same thing. If it was different, I would have gone in, you know. It wasn't different. And again, it was so close together on the Wednesday. Anyway, so we got up to labor and delivery. I would always say that I'm going to sneeze, this baby's going to come out, and that I'll be able to dance or twerk or something like that when I'm in labor. So I was able to have the music on, and I did a little twerk just to prove my point to my sister. Ghetto. And the delivery, my midwife, the lady that delivered the baby, my son, was different to the lady that checked me, but they were all both very nice. And she was sort of laughing, and she was like surprised, I think. And she said, come on, let's get this baby up. But she was encouraging me to like keep moving, and you know. And then I don't remember, I didn't push for very long. I never had that sensation to push down like I did in the beginning of the day, like early hours of the morning. I never had that feeling, because I was asking her, what is that feeling like? She said to me, okay, push now. I think she was saying I'm having a contraction. She said to me to push now. And I was faking, like forcing a push. I was trying to push. I felt like it wasn't how you see on TV or how they explained it to be. Now I know what that is, obviously having done it 2 more times. But at that time I didn't know. I said, am I meant to feel, I was asking her, am I meant to feel like I'm meant to push? And you know, and she was explaining me, yeah. And I didn't feel that at all. So to this day, I don't know why actually. I'm actually going to get onto the robot, ChatGPT, and ask. I get down on the bed, and yeah, I push, and I didn't push for very long. I don't think I was even pushing for half an hour. It was less than that. But they were saying that my contractions are almost letting me down. They didn't say it like that, but that's how it was explained, I think, after or in the moment. But yeah, it was very clear to me that it wasn't connecting how it should. You know, you should be feeling like you want to push down. I wasn't feeling that. So I think they probably knew I was faking pushing. Like, I think I was also vocal about saying that I'm just not doing it. Like, yeah, it's hard to explain. Especially now, I knew there was a disconnect there, but I know better now because I've done it 2 more times, obviously, and having that urge to push. So they said, we're gonna give you some help. They didn't use forceps. They did have to cut me. She said she could see I was gonna tear. Apparently that is not the way to do it. I know better now. I didn't know that back then. They numbed me. I didn't feel anything. And they cut me. and that allowed him to come out, basically. So he was born. He was born at 10:30 p.m. on a Friday, 5 days overdue, and he was healthy. He was fine. The meconium did not go. That's God. The meconium, because I truly believe this baby, this my boy, my firstborn, was ready to come out from early hours of that day, that morning, early hours of that Friday morning, when I had that sensation to poo, to push that feeling. I think I remember sitting on the toilet as well, and I couldn't poo. So thank God he came out healthy. He was 6 pounds 9 ounces, and 5 days over, and no meconium or nothing had got into him. Again, that's, to this day, I know that was God, because he was sitting there ready to come out hours, like over 12 hours, well over 12 hours, you know. So I thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God. And he was born. I have his red book, actually. I should have had this here. I'm not at home. But I will insert some... I back then, they took his length, his feet length, and all of those things, which I want to include into this. So I will add that. But he was healthy, and I just couldn't believe he was mine, and he was here. It was so surreal, like, seeing him. And he just looked up at me. I can see it now. He was here, and his head was in. He just looked up at me, like he just knew my voice, and I will just never forget it. We need to go back. So it was a natural birth, completely natural, but I did have gas in air, so I don't know if that's still classed as natural. All the babies I had gas in air. And different birthing. I was in the birthing center for my other two, but I'll have to explain those two at a different date. And I'll say, yeah, it was a good experience. I didn't have anything to compare it to. Judging them all now, that was not the best experience I've had. But again, I've heard horror stories. So I would always be grateful for that experience. And outside of the people at the beginning that made me feel, knowing that this is my first baby, and that you don't know what to expect, you know? But I truly didn't know what to expect. Like, I had no clue. So I don't appreciate how they reacted to me on the Wednesday, and I did not appreciate, and they're still like this to this day, because you're not screaming and making a fuss. They just can't imagine that you could be fully dilated or be in established labor, which I think established labor is over 5 centimeters. Don't quote me on that. I should know this now, but I don't know. So over 4, 5 or 6, I think 5. Over 4. I think over 4 centimeters. Oh, this is your first baby? Okay, we're gonna leave her there. This is your first baby? Yeah, okay. You know, my light's just gone out, so I'm gonna end the story here. But I will say, I did not appreciate the Wednesday, and I did not appreciate... I was literally fully dilated hours before. I know hours before, but the fact that I was fully dilated, waiting in the waiting room for nearly 2 hours. I think it was exactly 2 hours, because we got there at 8 o'clock. I remember when we got into the room, labour and delivery, I looked up at the clock and it was 10 o'clock. So I literally waited for 2 hours, you know, to be seen and to be taken seriously, I guess. So I didn't appreciate that either. To this day, and even after, I was thinking, I hope that when they had their little handover the next day, like the night team to the day team, that they were told, like, oh, she was fully dilated and she passed meconium, because I'm sure people will have to get in trouble for that, you know, being someone in a waiting room sitting there that long. Anyway, I don't know. The hospital is no longer around, so there's that. But I remember I did voice and say that after, you know, they made me wait, and the lady explained there was a handover, and obviously colleagues protect colleagues, especially in the NHS, so I can't even imagine. But yeah, to this day, I would just say, and people say it all the time, like, don't expect people to be kicking and screaming. Like, that's so embarrassing to me, for me to do. I understand, I know the pain. I've given birth 3 times naturally. It's excruciating. So everyone deals with that differently, but for me, I definitely made noises. I made funny noises giving birth to my other 2. Yeah. So, but for me, I just could never imagine, like, screaming and doing all of that. But that's so valid when you're in that excruciating pain. So I'm not taking that away from anyone. I'm just saying not everyone's going to respond like that. I want to, but I'm not comfortable. I'm not at home, you know. So I couldn't do that. So I didn't appreciate not being taken seriously in that moment as well. Again, I don't remember being rude, but they were just brushing me off. And it just, you hear stories now. My friend, her son is the same age as my second born. And yeah. Anyway, so that's my story. I'm going to go because my hand is hurting me. I have to charge my light. But yeah, that's my birth story. Anything else I've missed out, I'm going to include in text or in a voiceover. But I think I've given an overall decent rundown, given that it was such a long time ago. But yeah, my healthy 6 pound 9 ounce baby, my smallest baby by far. But yeah, I just thank God that he got here safe. The birth was more or less straightforward, and it was very long, obviously. So that's my story for my eldest, and stay tuned for my other 2 birth stories.